Keep your wallet happy with $4.95 flat rate shipping at Provident Metals. Any order, any size. Ships for one low rate, all September long. Shop with the People's Bullion Dealer, ProvidentMetals.com. Your wallet is going to love you.
Repealing the 16th Amendment has been one of those anti-government far right-wing ideas, like eliminating the Federal Reserve.
The Republicans are trying to repeal the second half of the 20th century.
They want to undo the 20th century. They are trying to repeal the 20th century.
They want to repeal the American century. They want to repeal all the achievements of the American people, and yet they want to say that they're the only patriots.
Now, many on the left, progressives, moderates, and liberals look at some of the ideas espoused by the liberty movement and some in the Republican Party and claim these paleo-conservatives and constitutionalists want to undo our political evolution in this country. Nay, they want to repeal the 20th century. Really? The whole 20th century? Seems a little rash. Why not start smaller? For instance, Ron Paul, during his third presidential run, told the Wall Street Journal, "I'd really like to repeal 1913. Some call it the worst year ever, and when the republic envisaged by our founders receded from view. Here are a few reasons why. First, on February 3rd, 1913, the 16th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified. This amendment allows Congress to levy an income tax without apportioning it among the states per the Constitution. Article 1, Sections 2, 8, and 9. The second, on May 31st, 1913, the 17th Amendment was declared part of the Constitution by Secretary of State William Jennings Bryan. It established the direct election of U.S. senators by popular vote, thereafter stripping away the right from the state legislatures to do so. Then 7 months later, on December 23rd, 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was passed. This act grants a consortium of private banks authority to issue Federal Reserve notes as legal tender. These three events are only now beginning to be discussed in today's retail politics, but these three events are the root of nearly every controversy this country suffers from today. After 1913, the United States, once a grand laboratory of democratic experiments, became irrevocably changed to the one-size-fits-all decisions of experts and special interests in Washington, D.C., or what some call America's ruling class. Rather than local politics, we have supersized them and forced 537 politicians, 9 justices, and 1 town to make the decisions for over 300 million people. The 16th Amendment, or the federal income tax, created the IRS as we know it today. It is the cornerstone of the modern state, allowing the traditional federal expenditures of 2 to 3% to balloon to over 40% of GDP. It allows the federal government to pool national wealth without returning it to the states. This allows Washington to create massive, often redundant and inefficient entitlement programs, prop up foreign governments, fund extensive bureaucracies, grease the war machine known as our global police force, and bribe state governments with their own money to accept federal regulation. The 17th Amendment, while affirming the redemptive qualities of popular sovereignty by instituting direct elections of U.S. senators, removed the state governments from the federal discussion. The bicameral Congress was originally set up to represent both the people in the form of the House of Representatives and the states in the form of the Senate, both as an indispensable component of federalism and an essential check on government overreach. Prior to 1913, senators were appointed by state legislatures. In other words, the powers reserved to the states or to the people, otherwise known as the 10th Amendment, used to have teeth. Senators prior to 1913 did this not by local nullification alone, not by relying on the Supreme Court to know when to invoke the 10th Amendment, by acting as jealous guardians of individual states' rights. Held to account by local legislatures, U.S. senators were charged with preventing unlawful federal encroachment upon those rights. Any legislation that would emphasize the federal government over the state governments or their citizens would be voted down by these state ambassadors. The Federal Reserve Act effectively privatized what was otherwise, and for all intents and purposes, a public utility, the nation's money supply. In other words, rather than an authentic public bank operating in the public interest, it was a publicly sanctioned private monopoly of monetary policy, a fundamental conflict of interest. The plan ended a period of free banking which presided over the largest economic expansion the world had ever seen after the Civil War. The Federal Reserve inherently desires our government to spend more and thereby borrow more at interest serviced by your tax dollars, whether it's for peace or for war. Few Americans appreciate the fact that while the last century is known as the American century, we began it already on top. By 1906, the United States was the dominant economy in the world, enjoying the highest living standards and literally recreating the world in our image, not by force, but by example. So it stands to reason, therefore, that it is what we did, or better yet, did not do as a country in the 19th century, which led to our prominence in the 20th. With all of this in mind, it strikes me as odd when someone praises what we accomplished during the last century, when it in fact was these accomplishments which testify to where we are now: divided, decadent, laden with debt, and in decline. Nonetheless, it has become a buzzword for some to claim that the Tea Party movement, conservative leaders, and libertarians want to repeal the 20th century. This byword hides the fact that nearly all of the 20th century's legislative accomplishments and wars are predicated on the fundamental changes that literally ripped the heart and soul out of the Constitution in 1913. It's a matter of perspective. Does one measure accomplishments on what we are able to do through government, namely by winning wars and passing laws? Or does one measure accomplishments on our aggregate ability to progress and add value to each other's lives, something government can never do? These three pieces of legislation over the last 100 years, acting in concert, have effectively ended capitalism and replaced it with corporatism. The year of 1913 was crucial in reducing a vibrant republic to one glacial organism, monolithic in its agenda, pallid in its imagination, unresponsive to the needs of the people, and growing in capacity to harm not only Americans, but the globe as well. We must now ask ourselves, shall we, like so many other nations, succumb and be pulled back into the fog of history, or are we to reclaim our culture of freedom and emphasis on the individual and resist the fate of so many other nations before us? If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and comment below. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter in the links as well.